All right, welcome back to Notes and Nectar with Champagne, where we sip, spill, and dissect what's really going on in relationships, the culture, and beyond. Today, we're getting into Family of Fiancé, Season 4, Episode 3, featuring Tiara and Akeem. And let me just say, this one had everything from trauma, family tension, and a whole lot of unresolved issues. So if you've seen this episode, you already know the drama was pretty thick. If you haven't, don't worry, I got you. We're breaking it all the way down, and of course, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's start with our couple, Tiara and Akeem. They've been together off and on for about 10 years since high school. But baby, their issues, they run pretty deep. So let's start with Akeem. This man carries a lot of pain from his childhood. His mom struggled with addiction, and as a kid, he felt very abandoned by her. So now that he's a grown man, he struggles with his anger, shutting down when things get too real, and going off behind his mom, whether it be on his fiance or anyone else. So you can see throughout this episode, he constantly gets defensive, like he's protecting himself from being hurt again. And then we have his fiance Tiara. She's had a decent childhood, but experienced a major trauma in her life. She is a post nightclub shooting survivor, and that's something you never really heal from. Throughout the episode, we see her trying to be strong, but also frustrated because of Akeem's anger. She feels it makes their relationship feel like a battlefield. So right off the bat, you can tell that these two have so much unresolved trauma. And Tracy, she's about to call all of it out. So we're gonna move on to the task very quickly. So Tiara's with Akeem's family, basically enlightening them on the Akeem that she deals with, where he is enraged and upset behind the situation with his mother. She's basically letting them know he gets angry, he is upset. That's the one that she has to deal with, and they are basically saying they don't know this person. They don't know this Akeem, and questioning why he hasn't told his mother how he feels. And she lets them know because he doesn't want to come off a certain way or doesn't want to be labeled as disrespectful. And the mother is not liking this conversation. She's ready to get up and leave. With Tiara's family, Akeem is just basically saying a conversation needs to be had with his mother about what's been going on. And when it comes to Tiara, that she was the person that gave him dinner when he couldn't find her. So it's clear that this is going to come to a head at a certain point, and that's what we're about to see. All right, y'all, let's talk about this mess of a dinner that took place. So, at the first family dinner, they recapped the tasks that took place for the day. So Akeem is talking about his struggles with his mother, how he felt left alone, abandoned, and that he wasn't wanted. And Akeem's mom basically says to him that he's lying. And that's where you see his trigger. He loses it immediately. And he gets extremely angry, to the point where Tiara has to pull him away from the table. I completely understand why he's upset. He's been holding on to this pain for quite some time, you can tell. And his mom denying it like it never happened. That's an understandable trigger. In a moment where somebody is expressing their pain that you caused, it is never a smart move to tell them that they're lying or it's untrue. He is expressing his truth. And the right thing to do in that moment would be just to listen. And that's something that she just couldn't do. But at the same time, Akeem's anger, it's very scary. This is where Tiara starts to realize when Akeem gets upset, there's really no stopping him. So the argument spills over to the next morning. He wakes up angry, still on what happened the night before, and Tiara tries to get Akeem to see how this anger affects their relationship, but instead of taking accountability, they just start going back and forth. And at this point, Tiara starts yelling and shouting through the house, and it's just one big shouting match. Tracy clocks it. She clocks it in their second meeting, and she's like, this is a toxic cycle, and if y'all don't fix it, this ain't gonna work. And honestly, she's right. Tracy referred to the breakdown that they have going on in their relationship as the pursuer-distancer dynamic, where a problem arises, the distancer disconnects themselves and they shut down, and the pursuer gets bigger to get a reaction, which causes a more severe shutdown. Akeem also lets us know that Tiara is also physically abusive, and then Tiara starts to get just as explosive as Akeem gets. Feels like everybody's pointing a finger at her, and basically Tracy lets them know it's not okay. She lets her know it's not okay, and basically does not give her the right to act this way. So she basically tells them about what their next assignments are going to be. Tiara needs to talk to her mom and her best friend, and Akeem needs to have a conversation with his mom. And then we see the end of that. So Tracy sends Akeem into therapy with his mom, and Tiara into therapy with her mom and best friend. So to start with Akeem, he finally opens up to his mom that he needed her growing up and she was not there. And for a moment, we think we're getting a breakthrough, and she even promises to do better. But just to be honest, promises are just words. It's going to take time to see if she actually means it, right? Meanwhile, in Tiara's session, her best friend keeps it real, tells her the relationship has some deep traumas and they haven't been worked through. And her mom says flat out that they are not ready for marriage with this type of anger festering. And at this point, I'm agreeing with Tracy. These two do not need to be rushing down the aisle at all. So we reach the final meeting with Tracy, where Akeem seems to be happy with the progress he made with his mother. Tiara realizes she can conduct herself better, and they collectively agree that they need to put a pause on moving forward with this engagement, which I think is the right thing to do at this point, until they can get a grip on themselves, until they can get clear on who they are, what they want, and regulate the explosive tempers between the two. I just don't see that as healthy at all, and I'm glad that Tracy called it out. So moving on to the blessing ceremony, and what do you know? The families are relieved that they decided to pause it. And you see that with the mom mouthing, "Thank you, God." She didn't want it to move forward anyway, but I don't think her intentions are pure. I don't think her intentions are pure. But for the couple, I think this is the best decision they could have ever made. The family is just grateful. They're taking a step back. The update is we see the wedding has been pushed back a year. Akeem is working on his relationship with his mom. And Tracy made it very clear they need to develop better skills for handling conflict before even thinking about marriage. And honestly, I hope they take that advice seriously, because love is not enough if the relationship is filled with anger, trauma, and dysfunction. So I really would love to know y'all's thoughts on these two. Do you think Akeem and Tiara made the right decision by pausing the engagement? Or do you think they could have worked it out going forward, committed to each other? Do you think Akeem's mom is too involved? And most importantly, do you think this relationship even stands a chance in the long run? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. I do want to hear from y'all. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss my next review. And as always, stay connected, stay inspired, and I'll see y'all next time.